On Storytime Audio, we bring you compelling tales that delve into the complexities of human relationships. Today, we present The Cheating Wife, a complicated journey of love, betrayal, and redemption in Savannah. This story takes you through the sunlit streets of Georgia, where secrets unravel and lives are changed forever. Join us as we explore the entangled lives of Rachel Taylor, a woman torn between loyalty and passion, and Derek Taylor, a devoted mayor blindsided by his wife's affair. With twists and turns at every corner, this narrative will keep you on the edge of your seat, reflecting on the power of forgiveness and the price of deception. Ethan Moore's booming baritone voice echoed across Patriot Park. "Strike three," he shouted, marking the end of the first half of the third inning. The Savannah Eagles, the AW affiliate of the Atlanta Braves, were facing their rivals under the hot Georgia sun. The park, though modest in size, was filled with enthusiastic fans. Among them was Ryan Gallagher, a seasoned scout for the Braves, watching intently from his usual spot. Ryan was here to keep an eye on Brandon Reed, the Braves' #1 draft pick from 2 years ago. Brandon, a 24-year-old powerhouse standing at 6 feet 4 inches and weighing 240 pounds, was everything the Braves had hoped for. His .286 batting average with 12 home runs and 36 RBIs by mid-June had justified the $1.75 million signing bonus the team had invested in him. As Brandon took his place as the third batter in the inning, his confidence was palpable. His long, wavy blonde hair peeked out from under his helmet, and his muscular arms strained against the short sleeves of his uniform. The women in the stands straightened up, paying extra attention to the star player. The attendance at Patriot Park had reached an all-time high this season, particularly among female fans, thanks to Brandon's charm both on and off the field. Ryan Gallagher pulled out his notebook and pen, prepared to document every detail of Brandon's performance. He was likely the only man in the park more focused on the batter than the cheering women. With the bases empty and 1 out, Brandon worked the count full. Then, with a powerful swing, he sent a 96 miles per hour fastball soaring over the left field wall. The crowd erupted in applause. Ryan, grinning widely, jotted down notes furiously. It had been on his recommendation that the Braves selected Brandon, and moments like this reaffirmed his faith in the young player's potential. As the game progressed, Brandon continued to impress, making another run-scoring play that contributed to the Eagles' 4-2 victory. After the game, Ryan headed to the locker room to speak with Brandon and the Eagles' manager. Later that evening, Brandon and his teammate Marco Sanchez decided to celebrate their win with dinner at Bella Vista, an upscale restaurant in downtown Savannah. As they entered, they were directed to a table in the center of the restaurant, attracting the attention of many patrons. At a corner table, 2 well-dressed women, Claire Mitchell and Rachel Taylor, were enjoying slices of cheesecake. "Oh, I'll take that blonde specimen over there," Rachel said with a playful grin, nodding towards Brandon. Claire followed her gaze and laughed. "Please, they probably haven't read a book since high school. $10 says they both order burgers," Claire retorted. "It's a deal," Rachel replied, her eyes still on Brandon. "Do you know them?" "All I know is they're from the local baseball team. Your fantastic boy is their star player," Claire answered. Rachel's eyes sparkled with interest. "Handsome and rich. Always a good combination," she said, a slow smile spreading across her face. As Brandon and Marco settled into their seats, the women continued to watch. Unaware of the women's scrutiny, Brandon called the waitress over and asked her to send 2 drinks to the women at the corner table. The waitress, recognizing the women, mentioned, "Did you know they're both married? The one with shorter hair is the mayor's wife." "That's all right," Brandon replied with a chuckle. "I just want to buy them a drink, not rent them for the evening." The waitress smiled and delivered the drinks. Rachel and Claire raised their glasses in thanks, and the players nodded in acknowledgement. As they ate their burgers, Brandon and Marco kept an eye on the women, who seemed to be enjoying their attention. Marco nudged Brandon. "Dude, aren't you already seeing that pretty blonde?" "What's your point, Marco? We're just friends, not married. Besides, there's nothing better than a married woman. They know how to have fun." "My hat's off to you, Professor," Marco laughed. The evening continued with casual conversations and light flirting. Brandon, ever the charmer, managed to get Rachel's phone number before they parted ways. Ryan Gallagher was the kind of scout who left no stone unturned. After meeting with Brandon and the manager, He spent the next few days observing Brandon's routines, talking to his coaches, and even mingling with the fans to gauge their opinions. He had been scouting for the Braves for over 18 years, and his judgment was highly respected within the organization. Brandon's presence on the field was magnetic. His athletic prowess combined with his down-to-earth personality made him a fan favorite. Ryan noted these observations meticulously, knowing that every detail mattered when it came to assessing a player's readiness for the major leagues. As Brandon continued to perform well in the games that followed, Ryan's confidence in his potential grew. He saw shades of Mike Trout in Brandon, a player who could hit for power, play multiple positions, and run like the wind. This combination of skills was rare, and Ryan knew the Braves had struck gold with Brandon Reed. Despite his focus on the field, Brandon's personal life began to take a more complicated turn. His encounters with Rachel became more frequent, and what started as innocent flirting soon blossomed into a full-fledged affair. Rachel, married to Derek Taylor, the mayor of Savannah, found herself increasingly drawn to Brandon's youthful energy and carefree spirit. Derek, on the other hand, was a man deeply committed to his work. As the mayor, he was often busy with city council meetings and public engagements, leaving little time for his wife. He trusted Rachel implicitly, never suspecting that her late nights and mysterious absences were anything more than social engagements with friends. The ambiance at Bella Vista was sophisticated and elegant, a perfect setting for a celebration. As Brandon Reed and Marco Sanchez walked in, the soft lighting and the sound of a piano playing in the background set the mood for the evening. The hostess guided them to a table in the center of the restaurant, where they couldn't help but notice the admiring glances from several diners. At a corner table, Claire Mitchell and Rachel Taylor were finishing their dessert. Rachel, still thinking about the charming baseball player from the previous night's game, couldn't help but glance over at Brandon. Claire noticed her friend's distraction and smirked. "You're not seriously considering flirting with him, are you?" Claire teased. Rachel shrugged, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Why not? He's cute, and it's just harmless fun." "Harmless, huh?" Claire replied skeptically. "Remember, you're married to the mayor." Rachel waved her hand dismissively. "Derek's busy with his own world. A little harmless flirtation never hurt anyone." As Brandon and Marco settled in, they ordered their meals, opting for the restaurant's renowned steaks instead of burgers, much to Rachel's surprise. When the drinks arrived at their table, Rachel raised her glass towards Brandon, who smiled and nodded back. The evening was off to an interesting start. As the night progressed, Brandon couldn't resist the magnetic pull towards Rachel. There was something about her that intrigued him, and he decided to make a move. He got up from his seat and walked over to Rachel and Claire's table. "Mind if we join you ladies for a bit?" Brandon asked, his voice smooth and confident. Claire looked to Rachel, who gave a slight nod, a smile playing on her lips. "Sure, why not?" Rachel replied. Brandon gestured to Marco, who followed him over to the corner table. As they took their seats, the conversation flowed naturally. Brandon introduced himself and Marco, and the women did the same. Claire was a successful event planner, while Rachel managed a non-profit organization in town. Despite the casual nature of their introductions, there was an undeniable chemistry between Brandon and Rachel. "So, Brandon, how does it feel to be the star player for the Savannah Eagles?" Rachel asked, her tone playful. Brandon chuckled. "I wouldn't say I'm the star, but it feels great to be part of the team. We've got a good group of guys, and we're all working hard to make it to the big leagues." Claire, sensing the connection between Rachel and Brandon, decided to give them some space. "I think I'll head home," she announced. "It was lovely meeting you both." Rachel looked at Claire with a mix of gratitude and surprise. "Are you sure? You don't have to leave." Claire smiled knowingly. "It's fine, Rachel. Enjoy your evening." She gathered her things and left, leaving Rachel and Brandon alone at the table. "So, what's it like being married to the mayor?" Brandon asked, genuinely curious. Rachel sighed softly. "It's not as glamorous as it sounds. Derek is a good man, but he's always busy with work. Sometimes it feels like we're living in separate worlds." Brandon nodded sympathetically. "I can imagine. My schedule is pretty hectic too, but it's important to find time for the people you care about." Rachel smiled, appreciating his words. "You're right. It's just complicated." Their conversation continued late into the evening, covering topics ranging from their careers to their personal interests. As they talked, the initial spark between them grew into a deeper connection. By the time the restaurant was closing, Rachel felt a mix of excitement and guilt. She knew she was treading dangerous waters, but the allure of Brandon was too strong to resist. Brandon walked Rachel to her car, and as they stood there under the streetlights, he took her hand. "I had a great time tonight, Rachel. I'd love to see you again." Rachel hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I'd like that too, Brandon." With a gentle squeeze of her hand, Brandon said goodbye and watched as she drove away. He stood there for a few moments, contemplating the night's events. There was something about Rachel that made him want to know more, to explore the possibilities of what they could be together. Meanwhile, Rachel drove home, her mind racing with thoughts of Brandon. She knew she was playing with fire, but there was a thrill in the danger, an excitement she hadn't felt in a long time. As she pulled into her driveway, she took a deep breath, trying to steady her emotions. She had to be careful, to keep her affair with Brandon hidden from Derek and the rest of the world. When Rachel walked into her house, she found Derek in his study, working late as usual. He looked up and smiled at her. "Hey, how was your evening?" "It was good," Rachel replied, forcing a smile. "Just dinner with Claire." Derek nodded, turning his attention back to his work. "I'm glad you had a good time. I've got a few more things to finish up here." Rachel watched him for a moment, a pang of guilt hitting her. She loved Derek in her own way, but the excitement of her affair with Brandon was something she couldn't ignore. She went upstairs to their bedroom, her mind still buzzing with thoughts of the handsome baseball player. As she lay in bed, Rachel knew she was at a crossroads. She could either end her affair with Brandon before it went too far, or she could give in to the temptation and see where it led. The choice was hers, but either way, there would be consequences. The summer sun beat down on Savannah, casting a warm glow over the historic city. Brandon and Rachel's affair had blossomed quickly, with their secret meetings becoming more frequent and more intense. They found secluded cafes, quiet parks, and hidden corners of the city where they could steal moments together, away from prying eyes. Rachel felt a rush of excitement each time she received a text from Brandon, suggesting their next rendezvous. It was a dangerous game they were playing, but the thrill was addictive. One evening, they met at Forsyth Park, a sprawling green space with picturesque fountains and moss-draped oaks. They walked hand in hand, talking and laughing as if they didn't have a care in the world. "Do you ever think about the future?" Rachel asked, her voice soft as they sat on a bench, watching the sunset. Brandon looked at her, his eyes serious. "Sometimes. But right now, I'm just focused on the present. On us." Rachel smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I wish things were simpler." "They can be," Brandon said, tilting her chin up to look at him. "We just have to take it one day at a time." As the summer progressed, their connection deepened. They shared intimate moments, revealing parts of themselves they had kept hidden from others. Brandon found Rachel's intelligence and wit captivating, while Rachel was drawn to Brandon's passion and sincerity. They were two people from different worlds, but somehow, they fit together perfectly. Meanwhile, Derek Taylor, the mayor of Savannah, remained blissfully unaware of his wife's affair. He was consumed with his duties, attending meetings, and working late nights at the office. His trust in Rachel was unwavering, never suspecting that her absences were anything more than social engagements with friends. However, not everyone was so easily fooled. Claire Mitchell, Rachel's best friend, had started to notice the changes in her behavior. Rachel's constant texting, her secretive smiles, and her frequent disappearances were all red flags. Claire decided to confront her friend one evening as they sat in a quiet cafe. "Rachel, is there something you're not telling me?" Claire asked, her tone gentle but firm. Rachel looked up, startled. "What do you mean? You've been different lately. Distracted. And I've noticed you're always texting someone. Is there someone else in your life?" Rachel's heart raced. She had hoped to keep her affair with Brandon a secret, even from Claire. But now, faced with her friend's concern, she felt a wave of guilt. I've been seeing someone," she admitted quietly. Claire's eyes widened. "Who? Does Derek know?" "No, he doesn't," Rachel replied, her voice trembling. "It's Brandon Reed, the baseball player." Claire sat back, shock written all over her face. "Rachel, what are you doing? Derek is a good man. How could you do this to him?" "I don't know, Claire. It just happened. Brandon makes me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years." "But at what cost?" Claire asked, her voice rising. This isn't just a fling, Rachel. This is your marriage, your life. You need to think about the consequences. Rachel nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I know, Claire, I know, but I can't help how I feel. As Rachel grappled with her emotions, Brandon's performance on the field continued to impress. He was making headlines, his name becoming more and more well-known in the baseball world. Yet, despite his rising fame, his thoughts often drifted to Rachel. One night, after a particularly intense game, Brandon sat alone in his apartment, thinking about the future. He knew his relationship with Rachel was complicated, but he couldn't imagine his life without her. He picked up his phone and sent her a text. I miss you. Can we meet tomorrow? Rachel's reply came quickly. I miss you too. Let's meet at our spot in Forsyth Park. The next day, they met under their favorite oak tree, the branches providing a canopy of privacy. Rachel looked at Brandon, her eyes filled with a mix of love and worry. Brandon, we need to talk, she began, her voice hesitant. What's wrong? He asked, sensing her unease. Us. It's getting more serious than I ever expected, Rachel said, her eyes searching his. I'm scared of what might happen if Derek finds out. And Claire knows. She confronted me yesterday. Brandon took her hands in his grip reassuring. Rachel, I care about you more than anything. But I don't want to put you in a position where you have to choose between me and your marriage. If you want to end this, I'll understand. Tears streamed down Rachel's cheeks. I don't want to end it, Brandon. I love you, but I'm so afraid of losing everything. Brandon pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. We'll figure it out, Rachel. Together. Just take it one day at a time, like we always do. Their secret meetings continued, but the pressure of maintaining the affair began to take its toll on Rachel. She became more cautious, careful to cover her tracks and avoid arousing Derek's suspicion. Yet, no matter how careful she was, she couldn't shake the feeling that her double life was a ticking time bomb. As the summer drew to a close, Brandon and Rachel faced a crossroads. They both knew that their affair couldn't continue indefinitely without repercussions. The reality of their situation weighed heavily on them, but neither was willing to let go. One evening, as they sat on the bench in Forsyth Park, Rachel looked at Brandon, her heart heavy with emotion. What are we going to do, Brandon? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I don't know, Rachel. But I know I don't want to lose you. Me neither, she whispered. But something has to change. We can't keep living like this. Brandon nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. I know. Let's take some time to think about it. Maybe we'll find a way to make it work. As they sat there, watching the sun set over the park, both Brandon and Rachel knew that their time together was running out. The affair had brought them closer than they ever imagined, but the cost of their love was becoming too high to bear. As summer edged towards its end, the humid air of Savannah buzzed with anticipation. Derek Taylor, the mayor of Savannah, had noticed subtle changes in his wife Rachel. Her frequent absences and distracted demeanor were concerning, but Derek, ever the trusting husband, dismissed his suspicions. He believed Rachel when she said she was busy with work at the nonprofit organization she managed. However, Derek's close friend, Gregory Bennett, had noticed the signs. Having gone through a similar situation in his own marriage, he recognized the patterns of secrecy and distance. Concerned for his friend, Gregory decided to confront Derek one evening after a city council meeting. Derek, can we talk? Gregory asked, his tone serious. Sure, Greg, what's on your mind? Derek replied, sensing the gravity in his friend's voice. It's Rachel. I've noticed she's been acting differently lately. Are you sure everything is okay between you two? Derek sighed, running a hand through his hair. I've noticed it too, but she says she's just busy with work. You don't think? Gregory nodded solemnly. I think you should find out for sure. It's better to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Taking Gregory's advice to heart, Derek decided to hire a private investigator to follow Rachel and gather information. He contacted Peter Dalton, a well-respected PI in Savannah, and explained the situation. A few days later, Peter Dalton began his surveillance. He tracked Rachel's movements meticulously, noting her frequent meetings with a young man named Brandon Reed. It didn't take long for Peter to gather enough evidence to confirm Derek's worst fears. On August 10, 2022, Peter followed Rachel to Il Forno, a quaint Italian restaurant in the suburbs. Rachel and Brandon entered the restaurant separately, taking great care to avoid drawing attention to themselves. They sat at a secluded table in the back, engrossed in each other's company. Peter discreetly took photos and recorded their conversations, capturing the intimate moments between Rachel and Brandon. He watched as they shared a meal, laughing and talking as if they were the only two people in the world. When they left the restaurant, they walked hand in hand to Brandon's car, stealing a kiss before driving off together. Peter compiled his findings into a comprehensive report, complete with photographs and audio recordings. The next day, he met with Derek in his office to deliver the devastating news. "Mr. Taylor, I have the information you requested," Peter said, handing over a thick folder. Derek's hands trembled as he opened the folder, staring at the incriminating photos of his wife with Brandon. The audio recordings revealed their conversations, confirming the affair. Derek's heart sank, a mixture of anger, betrayal, and sorrow washing over him. "Thank you, Peter," Derek said, his voice strained. "I'll take it from here." As Peter left the office, Derek sat alone, grappling with the reality of his wife's betrayal. The pain was overwhelming, but he knew he had to confront Rachel and make a decision about their future. That evening, Derek waited for Rachel to come home. When she walked through the door, he could see the guilt and fear in her eyes. She knew something was wrong. "Derek, what's going on?" Rachel asked, her voice shaky. "We need to talk," Derek replied, his tone cold and distant. "I know about you and Brandon." Rachel's face went pale, her heart pounding in her chest. I'm sorry, Derek. I didn't mean for this to happen." Derek stood up, holding the folder of evidence in his hands. "How long has this been going on?" "Since June," Rachel admitted, tears streaming down her face. "I never wanted to hurt you, Derek. It just happened." Derek's anger flared. "It just happened? You made a choice, Rachel. You chose to betray me in our marriage." Rachel sobbed, unable to find the words to explain her actions. She had been living in a fantasy, believing she could have both Derek and Brandon without consequence. But now, faced with the harsh reality, she realized the enormity of her mistake. "I love you, Derek. Please, can we work this out?" Rachel pleaded. Derek shook his head, his eyes filled with hurt. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again, Rachel. You've broken something that may never be repaired." Rachel collapsed onto the couch, her body racked with sobs. Derek turned away, unable to bear the sight of her. He walked out of the room, leaving Rachel to confront the full weight of her betrayal. Over the next few days, Derek struggled with his emotions. He loved Rachel, but the pain of her infidelity was too much to bear. He reached out to his lawyer and began the process of filing for divorce. It was a decision that tore him apart, but he knew it was the only way to move forward. Rachel, meanwhile, was a wreck. She couldn't eat or sleep, consumed by guilt and regret. She tried reaching out to Brandon, but he was busy with his career and seemed to be distancing himself from the drama. She realized she had lost everything: her marriage, her lover, and her self-respect. One evening, Claire came to visit Rachel, hoping to offer some comfort. She found Rachel in a disheveled state, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Oh, Rachel," Claire said, pulling her friend into a hug. "I'm so sorry." Rachel clung to Claire, her sobs muffled against her friend's shoulder. "I've ruined everything, Claire. What have I done?" Claire held Rachel tightly, trying to soothe her. "You made a mistake, Rachel. But you're not alone. We'll get through this together." As Rachel cried in her friend's arms, she realized the depth of the hole she had dug for herself. She knew it would take time to rebuild her life, to earn back the trust she had shattered. But with Claire's support, she felt a glimmer of hope. Derek Taylor sat alone in his office, staring at the divorce papers he had just signed. The date was August 15, 2022, and it marked the beginning of the end of his marriage. The betrayal he felt was raw and fresh, and he knew that there was no going back. His wife, Rachel, had made her choice, and now he was making his. Rachel had moved out of their home, seeking refuge with her friend Claire while she tried to piece her life back together. Derek, on the other hand, threw himself into his work, using it as a distraction from the pain. But no matter how busy he kept himself, the image of Rachel with Brandon haunted him. Meanwhile, Brandon Reed continued to rise in his baseball career. He was focused on his game, but the scandal with Rachel had started to take its toll. Whispers and rumors circulated among his teammates and fans, and his once pristine reputation was now tarnished. On the evening of September 1, 2022, Brandon decided to unwind at the Dugout, a popular sports bar in Savannah. He hoped a few drinks and some casual conversation would take his mind off the drama that had unfolded over the summer. As Brandon sipped his beer, he noticed a man staring at him from across the bar. The man's eyes were filled with anger and resentment. Brandon recognized him as James Foster, the husband of Holly Foster, another woman he had a brief fling with before meeting Rachel. James had heard about Brandon's affair with Rachel and saw it as an opportunity to confront the man who had caused so much pain in his own life. Fueled by alcohol and rage, James approached Brandon, fists clenched. "You think you can just mess around with other men's wives and get away with it?" James spat, his voice low and dangerous. Brandon looked up, taken aback by the sudden confrontation. "I don't want any trouble, man. Let's just leave it alone." "Leave it alone?" James snarled. "You ruined my marriage, and now you're ruining someone else's. You deserve to pay for what you've done." Before Brandon could react, James threw a punch, hitting him square in the jaw. The force of the blow knocked Brandon off his bar stool, sending him crashing to the floor. The bar erupted into chaos as patrons scrambled to get out of the way. Brandon struggled to his feet, but James was relentless. He swung again, this time hitting Brandon in the eye. The pain was blinding, and Brandon felt blood trickle down his face. Desperate to defend himself, he fought back, but James was fueled by a vengeful fury that gave him an edge. By the time the police arrived, Brandon was lying on the floor, his right eye swollen and beginning to bruise. James stood over him, his knuckles bloodied and bruised. The officers quickly separated them, taking statements from witnesses and piecing together what had happened. Brandon was taken to the hospital, where doctors examined his injuries. The swelling around his eye was severe, and there was concern about potential long-term damage. As he lay in the hospital bed, the gravity of his situation sank in. His career, his reputation, and his personal life were all in shambles. Rachel, upon hearing the news, was devastated. She blamed herself for the chain of events that had led to Brandon's injury. She wanted to visit him, to apologize and offer her support, but she knew her presence would only complicate things further. Derek, on the other hand, couldn't help but feel a grim sense of satisfaction when he heard about the fight. Though he didn't condone violence, seeing Brandon pay for his actions felt like a form of justice. He knew it was petty, but the pain of Rachel's betrayal was still too fresh for him to feel any sympathy for the young baseball player. The police declined to press charges against James, citing the circumstances and the witness statements that indicated Brandon had instigated the fight. Derek, wanting to ensure James faced no legal repercussions, called his divorce attorney and arranged for James to receive legal support if needed. 2 weeks later, Rachel was struggling with her new reality. She was living in a small apartment, relying on Claire's support, and dealing with the fallout of her decisions. She had lost a significant portion of her friends, and the few that remained were hesitant to get too close. Her once chic wardrobe had been replaced by practical, comfortable clothing. She had gained weight, and her hair was often pulled back in a simple ponytail. She felt like a shadow of her former self, burdened by regret and guilt. One day, while walking through a park with Claire, Rachel confided in her friend. "I don't know how I got here, Claire. I've lost everything that mattered to me." Claire squeezed Rachel's hand, offering a supportive smile. "You made mistakes, Rachel, but it's not too late to start over. You need to forgive yourself and move forward." Rachel nodded, tears filling her eyes. "I just wish I could undo everything. I hurt Derek so much, and Brandon. I don't even know how to make things right." Claire hugged Rachel tightly. "You can't change the past, but you can learn from it. Take this time to heal, to find out who you are without the lies and deception." As fall turned to winter, life moved on for everyone involved. Derek continued his work as mayor, finding solace in the progress and development he brought to Savannah. He remained single, focusing on rebuilding his life and rediscovering his passions. Brandon's injuries healed, but his vision in his right eye remained slightly impaired. Despite this setback, he worked tirelessly to regain his form, determined not to let the scandal define him. His dedication paid off, and by the end of the season, he was back on the field, proving his resilience and talent. Rachel slowly began to rebuild her life. She found a new job, one that allowed her to give back to the community and find a sense of purpose. She started therapy, working through her emotions and learning to forgive herself. It was a long and difficult journey, but she was determined to become a better person. One crisp autumn day, as Rachel was walking through the park, she saw Derek in the distance. He was standing at a four-way stop, helping an elderly woman who had fallen. As he helped her to her feet, Rachel felt a pang of longing. She missed the man she had once loved, the life they had shared. Gathering her courage, Rachel approached Derek. He looked up, surprised to see her. "Rachel," he said, his voice neutral. "Hi, Derek," Rachel replied, her heart pounding. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." Derek studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "I appreciate that, Rachel. I've moved on, and I hope you have too." Rachel nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I have. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to be a better person." Derek gave her a small smile. "That's good to hear. Take care of yourself, Rachel." As he walked away, Rachel watched him go, feeling a sense of closure. She knew she still had a long way to go, but she was finally on the right path. 2 years had passed since Derek and Rachel's lives had been turned upside down. Autumn had returned to Savannah, painting the city with hues of red, orange, and yellow. The Coffee Corner, a quaint cafe in the heart of downtown, had become a popular spot for locals to relax and unwind. On this particular October afternoon, Derek Taylor sat at a corner table, nursing a cup of coffee and reading a newspaper. The door chimed as it opened, and Rachel Taylor walked in, her eyes scanning the room nervously. She spotted Derek and hesitated for a moment before making her way over to his table. Derek looked up from his newspaper and met her gaze, his expression unreadable. "Hi, Derek," Rachel said softly, standing awkwardly by the table. "Rachel," Derek replied, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. "Have a seat." Rachel sat down, fidgeting with her hands. "Thank you for meeting me. I wasn't sure if you would." Derek took a sip of his coffee before responding. "I almost didn't, but I figured we both could use some closure." Rachel nodded, taking a deep breath. "I've thought about you a lot over these past 2 years. About everything that happened. I wanted to apologize again, face to face. What I did was unforgivable, and I'm so sorry for the pain I caused you." Derek's eyes softened as he looked at her. "I appreciate that, Rachel. It took me a long time to come to terms with what happened. But I've moved on, and I hope you have too." "I have," Rachel said, her voice steady. "I've been working hard to rebuild my life, to become a better person. I've started a new job, and I've been going to therapy. It hasn't been easy, but I'm trying." Derek nodded approvingly. "That's good to hear. I'm glad you're taking steps to improve yourself. We all make mistakes, Rachel. What matters is how we learn from them and move forward." Rachel smiled, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. "Thank you, Derek. That means a lot to me." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sipping their drinks and reflecting on the past. Finally, Rachel spoke up again. "I wanted to tell you about something. I've started volunteering at a local shelter. It's given me a sense of purpose and helped me find some peace." Derek's face lit up with genuine happiness. "That's wonderful, Rachel. I'm proud of you for finding a way to give back to the community. It sounds like you're on the right path." Rachel's eyes glistened with gratitude. "Thank you, Derek. Your support means more than you know." As they continued to talk, the conversation shifted to lighter topics. They reminisced about their shared memories, laughing over old stories and catching up on each other's lives. It was a moment of healing for both of them, a chance to acknowledge their past while looking forward to the future. Meanwhile, Brandon Reed had managed to rebuild his career after the scandal. His vision had fully recovered, and he was back to playing at the top of his game. Despite the ups and downs, he had remained focused and determined, earning the respect of his teammates and fans. Brandon's relationship with Rachel had ended shortly after the fight with James Foster. They both realized that their affair had caused more harm than good, and it was best for them to part ways. Brandon had since moved on, focusing on his career and personal growth. One evening, as Brandon was heading home from a game, he received a call from his old friend Marco Sanchez. They hadn't spoken in a while, and Brandon was glad to hear from him. "Hey, Brandon, how's it going, man?" Marco's voice was filled with enthusiasm. "Hey, Marco, it's going well. Just finished a game. How about you?" Brandon replied, smiling. "Doing great. Listen, I'm organizing a charity event in Savannah next month. It's for a good cause, and I'd love for you to be there. It's a chance to give back and catch up with old friends." Brandon felt a warm sense of camaraderie. "Count me in, Marco. I'll be there." The charity event turned out to be a success. Brandon, along with other athletes and celebrities, raised a significant amount of money for local shelters and community programs. It was a reminder of the impact they could have beyond the field, and it gave Brandon a renewed sense of purpose. As the year drew to a close, Derek found himself reflecting on the journey he had been through. His role as mayor had brought about positive changes in Savannah, and he had grown as a leader and an individual. He had learned to let go of the past and embrace the opportunities that lay ahead. One crisp winter morning, Derek received a letter in the mail. It was from Rachel. He opened it and read her heartfelt words, expressing her gratitude for the forgiveness and understanding he had shown her. She thanked him for being a part of her journey towards healing and self-improvement. Derek smiled as he folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. He knew that life would always be full of challenges, but he was ready to face them with resilience and hope. Lessons learned. 1. The importance of honesty and respect in relationships. Honesty and respect are the foundation of any strong relationship. Betrayal and deception can cause irreparable damage, but learning from mistakes and striving to be better can pave the way for personal growth and healthier relationships. 2. Consequences of betrayal. Infidelity and betrayal not only hurt those directly involved but also have far-reaching consequences. It's important to consider the impact of one's actions on others and to take responsibility for the pain caused. 3. The value of forgiveness and moving forward. Forgiveness is a powerful tool for healing. Letting go of anger and resentment allows individuals to move forward and rebuild their lives. It's never too late to start anew and strive for a better future. 4. Finding purpose through giving back. Giving back to the community can provide a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Volunteering and helping others can be a way to heal and find meaning in life's challenges. We hope you enjoyed The Cheating Wife, a complicated journey of love, betrayal, and redemption in Savannah, here on Storytime Audio. This tale of heartbreak and healing reminds us that every action has consequences and that forgiveness can be a powerful tool for moving forward. Rachel's journey of self-discovery and Derek's resilience in the face of betrayal offer a poignant reflection on the human condition. Thank you for joining us on this emotional roller coaster. Be sure to subscribe to Storytime Audio for more stories that touch the heart and stir the soul. Until next time, keep listening and keep reflecting.